this event. This is our first event, and I'm very excited also to have 4 other co-team volunteers in a panel discussion where they share their journey into AI and robotics. I'm also glad to see quite a huge number in the audience, and we hope you'll be able to take away some insights. And I'm very excited also to have inspiration. We hope that you will be able to take away some insights and inspiration from this talk into your AI journey. But before we start, here are some housekeeping instructions. Please note that this Zoom meeting will be recorded as well as live streamed on YouTube, and I would really appreciate if everyone is on mute and have their videos off for privacy reasons. And this panel discussion will last for about 40 minutes. And after that, we will take questions from the audience through the chat room. Feel free to post your questions in the chat room. And if you want to direct your question to one of the panel members, please add the name before your question and I'll direct it to them. So let's start with introduction of our speakers. Harshal, would you like to go first?
Sure. Thank you, Bhargavi. Hello, everyone. My name is Harshal, and currently I am a master's student in the Netherlands. Before master's, I did my bachelor's in computer science, and I worked for 4 years in Barclays, wherein I was managing projects related to DevOps and workforce planning. After that, I came here for master's, and now I'm studying business informatics, where I study a bit of data science, AI, requirements engineering, and business process management. Currently, I am interning as a product manager. I am also a core member of Women in AI and Robotics, where we are organizing events. Currently, the accelerator program is going on. And we are also, I am also a co-founder of my own startup. It's called Husky. With my startup, we are trying to connect the elderly fitness world with the AI technology. Thank you.
Perfect. You're welcome. So thanks again, Harshal. Kashmira, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Kashmira, and a little bit about my background. I did my bachelor's in electronics in India, and then I moved to Germany to pursue my master's in automation and robotics in the Technical University of Dortmund. My specialization was robotics, and I focused wholly on the machine learning part of it. As a part of my studies, I did my master's thesis in the Robotics Institute of the German Aerospace Center. And I finished my studies last year, and I currently am working as a researcher at the University of Bremen in the robotics group, and I mainly focus on human-robot interaction in the area of space robotics. And I'm also a co-team volunteer in the team of Women in AI and Robotics here in Germany. And yeah, that would be all. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Laura?
Yeah, a warm welcome from my side. I'm Laura. A little bit also to my background. I studied business administration and economics, so a different field, but I majored in innovation and management. And since a couple of years now, I'm working for IT consultancy, Reply, and I'm focusing on innovation, so including data science, artificial intelligence, digital transformation. And AI is reshaping the innovation process. So this is why I'm also involved in Women in AI and also having a great exchange with these ladies and many others. So yeah, I'm glad to be here and looking forward to the panel discussions.
Great, thank you, Laura. Maria, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, thank you very much for having me. So I am a machine learning research engineer, currently focused on AI robustness and explainability. So my background is mostly technical. I have 2 degrees in mathematics and in physics. And so during my studies, I did a couple of internships and focused on conversational AI. I've developed some chatbots, and actually my physics thesis was, well, very physics related, so I'm not going to talk about this, but my mathematics thesis was a chatbot that answers questions about COVID, and that also like really motivates me. So currently, I'm working at a fast-growing startup in Berlin called Neurocut, and I contribute to the core of 8Git, that is an AI quality and trustworthiness as evaluation tool. So besides explainable AI and robustness and AI ethics, I'm also very interested in NLP. I'm in touch with people from Hugging Face, and I've quite recently founded a community of Spanish-speaking NLP professionals called NLP en Español. That means NLP in Spanish. So yeah, thank you again for having me, and I'm very excited to be part of the kickoff event of Women in AI and Robotics.
Thanks, Maria. So I'll conclude with my introduction. I'm an engineer as well as an applied researcher. I completed my bachelor's in telecommunication engineering, and then I worked as a network engineer at Akamai Technologies in India. Later, I moved to Germany for my master's in autonomous systems at Bonn-Rhein-Sieg University of Applied Sciences. And my specialization was in intelligent robotics, and this was where I was introduced to AI and machine learning research. I'm currently a machine learning engineer at Fraunhofer IAS, working at the intersection of AI and human senses, especially the sense of smell. Here, I analyze the chemical sensor data to better understand the sensors, their characteristics, as well as their applicability in real life. Besides that, my research interests also lie in the field of affective computing, specifically human stress detection. Yeah, so all right, then I'll start with one of the very preliminary questions for each one of you. How did you get started with AI or robotics? What was your motivation? Maria, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I don't have any university degree in AI or computer science. As I said, I studied mathematics and physics, and at some point I realized that I really liked and I was really good at all the courses related to programming and optimization. And well, then I realized also that optimization is very important for AI. So during my exchange year in Paris, I was talking with a professor about this, and he suggested me to take the deep learning.ai specialization by Andrew and G. So I took it, and it literally changed my life. So I discovered AI and how powerful it is, how many great things we can accomplish with it. So my motivation is to use this really powerful tool for good. So for example, I'm very interested in AI applied to biomedicine, maybe more specifically for drug discovery. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the whole field evolves, and also hope that we use it to make a positive impact on people's lives.
Great. Yeah, that's a very interesting journey. I guess many can relate to it and not get disheartened that don't have an official degree in AI and machine learning. Very nice. Laura, would you like to share yours?
Yeah, it's kind of the same that Mayara. At university, I got in touch with innovative technologies like blockchain, data mining, etc. And at my company, Reply, and they are using state-of-the-art technologies. And so artificial intelligence was one of them, and also robotics, such as like having Spot from Boston Dynamics there. And yeah, they as you know, you probably all agree, there's high potential interest in growing in the field and also for business. So this is kind of like how I got into the whole topic, and I'm kind of like also working in the field now.
Yeah, nice. I see that you were more strongly pulled into AI through your work. Interesting. Yeah, Kashmira, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I was introduced to both of these fields of AI and robotics through my master's because they focused on a large part of my curriculum. And because this was a bigger part of my studies, it was not just theoretical. We had lots of practical hands-on experience in the labs, working with actual robots and also implementing some of the machine learning stuff. And there were some interesting projects going on in the university where we could participate and also learn more about it. So this is how it motivated me to pursue more in this field and dig deeper and deeper into it.
Very interesting, very structured. Yeah, Harshil, would you like to continue?
Yeah, sure. So I think my experience was a mix of everything. So I started with computer science. So that's when I was always into coding. Even my job at Barclays I had to do a lot of coding for the initial 3 years at least. After that, I moved into project management. And when I came here, in between, I did some courses wherein I took really an interest towards AI and data science. And when I looked at this course that the university was offering, which was a combination of both business and these fundamentals of AI, I went into it. And that is where the journey started, I would say. And I started learning all of these AI fundamentals. I started taking courses, very intensive courses. Sometimes they are pretty fun. For example, when I studied data visualization, playing with graphs and everything, and understanding the insights from the data using the tools, it was really fun. But sometimes when I went into NLP, I don't know, Maria, how you do your NLP things, but I just can't get the handle of it. And oh my God, that was the toughest subject ever to pass, I think. So yeah, that has been my journey. And now together with my boyfriend, we both of us are doing now a startup which is trying to link the as I told you, link the world of elderly fitness with technology, and in between we will be using AI technology to help them. And I hope that we succeed so that we can yeah, create a community of, as we say, fit and independent elders. So
Yeah,
that has
thank
been
you.
my journey. Yeah.
That was inspiring. Yeah, and I think I can share mine too. Mine was slightly different, I would say. During my school years, I was used to solving Sudoku puzzles almost on a daily basis because we were getting newspapers. And eventually, I wanted to write down my thoughts and strategy of solving Sudokus in the form of a program. And I was not really interested in computers or computer science at that point of time. But later on, I took it as one of my hobby projects and built a Sudoku solver. And that was when I realized, but of course, I realized much later that it was nothing but AI. And that was how I got into this field. And yeah, initially, I could beat the time taken by my my own algorithm, and I thought I was really smart, but apparently it meant otherwise because there's a lot of potential to AI, and you can keep exploring forever. And this is where I am. Yeah. So it looks like you're all working in with AI and robotics, but in different application domains. And for example, Kashmira on human-robot interaction, Maria on explainable artificial intelligence algorithms, Herschel on at the intersection of health and AI. So, what do you think is the potential of AI and also the risks associated with your respective fields or AI in your respective fields? Kashmira, do you have some thoughts?
Yeah, sure. I would like to talk about the robotics field. So yeah, it is well known that robotics is a vast field and it has many applications in a variety of domains. You have industrial robots, social robots, space robots, also a lot of autonomous systems. And the current industrial robots are capable of doing tasks on their own without human supervision. But if AI is combined with robotics, they become more independent in a way that they learn while performing tasks and also improve. And rather than just being limited to a task in a way, in a hard coded way, it is an improvement that the human doesn't need to intervene a lot, and um, applications can progress that way. So yes, combining machine learning with robotics in a way will develop more efficient and robust systems for the future. But at the same time, when humans work in close cooperation with robots in an environment, one of an important aspect is of safety. So we cannot completely trust the robots in making decisions. Sometimes a wrong decision can lead to a big catastrophic outcome. And this is where the utmost care should be taken. But I think the way the research is progressing nowadays with new developments almost on a daily basis, and this is improving very rapidly, I'm pretty sure that this aspect is also taken into account, and the future robots will be more intelligent and robust in making good decisions.
Yeah, indeed. And I completely agree with the safety concerns associated with robot at this point of time. Yeah, Maria, do you have more points on this? What, as in what?
So I'm going to focus on AI robustness and explainability. So these topics are getting more and more attention because we as in the AI community, so we have realized that it's really cool to have this incredibly powerful models that can perform tasks with really high performance rates. But there are two problems. Well, there are more, but I'm going to focus on two problems. So the first problem I would like to talk about is a little bit following up the example Kashmira was talking about. So for example, if you take autonomous driving, so what happens if it's snowing, or what happens if it's raining, or if the stop sign is kind of covered by a sticker, or what if one of the, I don't know how many sensors in the car fails. So to manage all of these cases, we need robust AI models, and we need models that have high performance even in these adversarial conditions. So this is what AI robustness is tackling right now. So creating new defenses to be able to have high performance in these adversarial conditions. And the second problem I would like to talk about is that, okay, we know that the AI models are getting more and more complex and more accurate. The problem is that we have like no clue why they work, or why are they so accurate, or why do they predict what they predict. And that can be crucial in some fields. So for example, if you take AI in healthcare, for example, a model that would perform like a diagnosis. Imagine you go to a doctor and the doctor tells you, well, you need to get surgery. Why? Right? You would like to know why. And what if the answer is, well, just the machine learning model told me so, you know? So the XAI techniques are trying to open this black box that currently the machine learning models are, and enable us to interpret the decisions of the AI model. So basically, they try to explain the output of a model with respect to the input, and check which of the input features had a bigger impact on the prediction. And so that would be like all very nice solutions, but you also ask about the problems. And the problem is that the machine learning models and architectures keep evolving, and it's harder and harder to explain them. And another problem would be that we don't really have a way to measure if actually the explanations we are giving are accurate, because they're really like black box models. So how do you know if an explanation of a black box model is valid? And yeah, I'll just leave it there with that question.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that. First of all, explainability in AI is now becoming as some of the researchers in this field say, the third wave of artificial intelligence, and it's definitely gaining more and more prominence over the time. And the second, I think for this problem, that whether or not whatever the explainable algorithm explains, is it right or wrong? I think a lot of domain expertise come into play, and so at that point of time, we need like the doctors to come and tell us, oh, okay, the algorithms are this side, and so on. So to validate again, we need humans at this point of time.
Yes.
Interesting. All right. So Laura, I have a question for you. So what do you think are the things to consider from business perspective before starting an AI project? So we all have projects in different domains, but from the business side, what do you see as some of the first steps or the steps to take? Mm-hmm.
That's a really good question, and a lot of companies are asking that question themselves, I guess. So one big crucial element, and I guess you can agree with that, is the data part. So which kind of data do you have? What is the availability? What kind of limitations are there? Also regarding GDPR, what do I have to consider and take into the account? And one study, and I can also kind of support this, 80% of enterprise data is unstructured. So you don't get like clean table and all the data that you need totally presented, but rather like you have unstructured data. You don't know maybe also what kind of data you will find. So this is like a crucial element. And also having a strategy, having a use case roadmap, for example. What are the low-hanging fruits, the quick wins? Also, what is my business strategy? This has to be aligned with the AI project then as well. And also a third kind of like pillar, I would say, are the people. So you have to have the right people on board. You have to have maybe also change management in place, because as you all know, like AI is like perceived in so many different ways and understand differently. So having expectation management and change management in place is also a good like pillar to look into, and to have that AI project then getting started.
Yeah, that's an insightful answer, especially for those who don't come from a business background. Thank you. Yeah, so we look at different perspectives on AI in different areas, and now let's talk about some personal experiences working with AI algorithms and your own project. So my question is, what was your most interesting project so far? Could you elaborate on that? Maybe Kashmira, could you go first?
Picking one of the most interesting project is difficult, but yes, I make a choice. So for me, it was my master's thesis, which I did at the German Aerospace Center. And it was basically trying to predict the position of an autonomous system, for example, a self-driving car, using a deep learning-based model. Now, there are various onboard sensors mounted on a car, for example, a camera, an inertial measurement unit, and the data from all these sensors was taken so that the car could perceive its environment, and then it would predict where it was with respect to the environment. Now, generally, the problem is that data sets which we use for training these models are limited in a way that you cannot have all the examples which a model will encounter in the future. So somehow the knowledge of a model is limited that way. And in this case, when you give model some data which it has never seen before, or probably a data which is corrupted or noisy, the model will still try to predict something because it has to. It has not learned that it can say, oh, okay, I don't know, and I can't give a prediction. It will still give a prediction. Now, in this case, we cannot trust the prediction from the model because it is inaccurate. It has never seen the data before. The same thing happens with autonomous driving because we cannot rely on the sensors completely. They can have corrupted data. So, for example, like you may get noisy images from the camera, or you cannot get any images at all when the car is going through a tunnel and the car sees nothing. So how can it predict where it is going or something? So to tackle this, I made the model capable of saying, oh, I got a noisy data, or maybe I have not seen this data before. So I will predict something, but I will also tell how much confident I am in this prediction. So the model kind of knows its shortcoming and does not confidently say that, okay, this is what I have predicted and it's 100% correct. So yeah, this was kind of a state of the art approach to combine the predictions with knowledge of whether or not the model is uncertain about its predictions. So yeah, this was one of the projects which I worked on, which I found most interesting.
Yeah, I think this uncertainty topic is very interesting, especially when it comes to artificial algorithms. And yeah, thank you for sharing it. And Harshil, would you like to also share some of your experiences with your most interesting project?
Yeah, of course. I actually have two, I would say. One is definitely related to the uncertainty factor that you just talked about. The other is specially related to AI and how we are connecting it with business. So when you talk about AI in the research field, it's completely different. Like when you're doing it for your own purpose, you have complete control over the data set that you want to use, the pre-processing steps, the timeline, everything. But when you let's say talk about it in terms of a corporate structure, let's say bringing it like making a bank adopt to AI in the most ethical way possible, then comes the challenge. So right now I'm working with ABN AMRO here in the Netherlands, and we are trying to build a framework where we are trying to make central policies which will help govern the usage of AI all across the bank. And oh my god, what a challenge it is. So we are working with a lot of data science teams, and there are the coders are a different breed. Or okay, they just don't want to be disturbed, they just want to be with their headphones on, with their laptops, they just want to work. And as soon as you tell them to follow a policy or click a checkbox or do something like this, then yeah, it is very difficult to handle the processes and make them to streamline everything. So a lot of my work involves bringing people on the table, making them see things, and trying to understand what is going on and how more we can make our process efficient and easy to use. And yeah, it's a challenge, but ultimately what it is going to do is it is going to help the bank use AI ethically by maintaining where the data set is coming from, let's say by building a centralized a source of data, and what kind of algorithms or confidentiality procedures that we can put in so that the results and everything are not are handled very carefully. So that is an interesting project that is going on. And when you talk about uncertainty, Bhargavi, there is no uncertain field than the field of entrepreneurship, I would say. And that is where I just love it being there. So right now I'm conducting a research where we are trying to build a framework that is going to help startups grow and use their resources as efficiently as possible. Because with startups, everything is uncertain. They don't know what the problem is. Sometimes they assume that this is the problem, but it really is not the problem. Sometimes they assume the wrong solution. Sometimes they assume the wrong customer, like the person is not even your customer and you're trying to reach them. And in that process, you have invested a lot of your time, a lot of your money. If you have employees, then a lot of your employee hours are wasted. So I'm currently working with 7 different startups, trying to bring them on the same page with their assumptions, testing their assumptions as soon as possible so that their resources are used efficiently. And the uncertainty that is, of course, will be present, always present, can be handled in the best way possible, is what I'm doing, and it's really exciting.
Thank you. I think that's a very challenging or the challenging projects that you have right now. banking sector, I think Sheila also mentioned that it is one of the most challenging areas as well, with security policies and more complicated, sophisticated things involved. Yeah, and startup indeed, a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And talking about the corporate space, how do you think, Laura, this AI development differs in research and how it's applicable in corporate space? How do we transfer this? Or
Yeah, so as Harsha mentioned, I think there's so many factors to consider and to take into account. So resources, people, and tools, technologies that are actually allowed, requirements. So speaking of laws and legal restrictions, and also legacy systems, custom solutions that were built, I don't know how many years ago. So these are kind of like elements that play into the to the whole business field, and also business pressure. So it's not like a research field where you can like research and spend like that is your single kind of like a focus point, and you invest a lot of time because you want to research the field. But in the corporate world, there's business pressure, like business wants things to get done and ready. And so they also have like that old kind of waterfall approach and mindset that they have a timeline and they want their artificial intelligence use case ready by and then name a date. This is not how it works. And so you have to like consider that difference. And also there's that thing where you can say not one fits all. So it also like really depends on which industry are you working, what you have to deal with in that particular industry, what are the specifications in there. So this is kind of like how it differs, I would say.
Thank you. That's really challenging as well as insightful. Yeah, we'll go more deeper into this topic probably in the questions round. I think people have some questions there. And now I have another on a different level, but of course, personal level, a question that talks about women in industry. So what is your experience being a woman in industry? Did you face societal stereotypes when you, or in your country when you entered this field, or in general work atmosphere? What was your experience? Maria, would you like to start?
Sure. Well, I'm currently the only woman in my team, and actually I've never worked with another woman in the same team. So it's funny, not funny, don't know. But of course, this doesn't mean that I felt underestimated or that I wasn't happy with my team. But I think it's true that sometimes you would really like to have somebody to talk to and there's just nobody there. Or there are times where I would like to have like a female lead or female boss to motivate me and to look up to her. And so I think that's why organizations like Women in AI and Robotics are very important, because we need role models, we need support, we need other women to be there, and this is what we actually find here. So I would just like to say that I'm very grateful to be part of this community, and
Yeah, indeed. Kashmira, would you like to add your answer to this one?
Well, my experience being the women in my field was very much on the positive side. I agree with Maria, and most of us would also agree that at some point of time we were the only women working in the team. But for me, that was not a hindrance. Rather, my teammates were very supportive and encouraging and also helpful. So whenever I got stuck, I always had help. Even if there was no woman I could look up to in my team, it wasn't a very big obstacle, I would say, because help was always there when needed. But I am very happy that the situation has changed a bit. In my current team, I have 2 female bosses, and they both are extremely supportive and motivating, I would say. But yes, this is for the same reason. I think women in AI and robotics is helping all the females having the same interests and passion. Network with each other so that they have the support whenever they need. And I had positive experiences, but some people might face difficulties, and this is where um, we could help and support each other. So
Thank you. I agree with your answer. And I also concur with your point of view as well as Maria's. So fortunately, I've had mostly positive experiences and never felt that I belong to a minority. Yeah, nevertheless, if you have had, as already mentioned, any experience which is different from ours, we are here to support you from Women in AI and Robotics. And that's the aim of our organization. But and Harshil, I would also like to know what your impression was or what your experience was in this. Laura, after that.
Well, initially, when I was just a graduate and when I entered the first team ever, um, when what you study in the college is so much different than what is being done in the when you're in the college, and when you crack that interview of that job application, you feel like, okay, coding, of course I can do coding, but industry is so much more than coding. The way projects are handled, the way the codes are written, they are so different. They follow design patterns, they follow MVC, and oh my god, I just had so not at all the idea of what's going and how it is going. And the second thing is, whenever you enter this corporate space, you also have to go through a procedure of installing the Java application in your laptop. You just cannot download the Java application from the web. You have to go through a procedure to do that. And yeah, when all of those things were happening, I went a bit fidgety, and eventually it feels like whenever you're asking too many questions, or if you're just curious, you do take the risk of not taken seriously in the technical space because of your gender. And because yeah, it's sometimes there is this thing where people are like, yeah, she doesn't know, of course she doesn't know, because yeah. So there were subtle hints and things like that, and of course you don't appreciate it. But yeah, if it happens with you, just move on to the positive side. Just stop the interaction, minimize it as much as possible, and don't ask for help, especially from that one person who gave you that subtle nod because you're a female. But I agree with Kashmira. There are a lot of people who will be there to support you and won't even consider if you are a male or a female in this field. So it has been a mix of both, I would say. And especially whenever you enter a new project, and you're still getting settled and you're still going through the formal procedures, it is a bit tough, I would say.
Yeah, I can understand that it can be intimidating at times. Yeah. Laura, do you have also something to say?
Yeah, so it's tough, and it's therefore even more important to have more women and also having the exchange. And I think you can also go in the chat and look up what we're doing more in detail, and also maybe sign up so we can support each other, and having like more women as role models, and really having the exchange, and also sharing our experiences. Because our field is not a woman like magnet in that kind of thing currently, but it's getting there. So a lot of more like women are getting involved in the field, and I think that's a good growth there. So yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and we're almost getting to the end of the panel questions, but here's the most important question before we close with a statement. what is your advice to people who want to get started with their journey in AI and robotics? Yeah, how would you expect them to start off? Laura, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so the time to start was yesterday, kind of. So yeah, just look into the topic, look up what kind of resources you can use. There are so many tutorials and courses online that you can like get started with, and like just explore it and try it out and get into it. So don't shy away. It's yeah, it seems complicated and it can get really complicated, but just starting with it is like the first step and like a great step to take.
Yeah, indeed. Harshil, do you have more points to add to this?
Well, of course, great points, but just do it. Just install that Python app. Just install that thing. You will. The first step is the hardest because you have to do so many setups. You have to, every single line of code. It will say that library not found, or value error or name error and things like that. But just get through it. Just get through that one step of hurdle, and as soon as you do that, you are there. Like. Yes, you're following the code, you're writing your own code, and it is so the best advice is to just get started. Just install that Python app, that R application, and then just get started with it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think the first steps are usually the frogs that we have to eat. And yeah, Kashmira, would you also like to add to this?
I completely agree with Laura and Harshil that the first step needs to be taken. You just need to break the barrier. And as Laura said, there are plenty of courses available online where you can start from. If you're not sure, there are certain guides as well, what your area of interest might be, what you would like. If you're not sure, just try. Just pick out one topic, try it. If you don't like it, move to the next one. And don't shy away from asking questions at all. There is a huge community online. If you're stuck somewhere, you just need to search for the question and there will be answered. And chances are there that you might not find the right answer, but most of the time there will be an answer for any question that you want to know about. So yeah, just go for it.
Yeah, thank you. Maria, do you also have some points to add?
Sure. I totally agree with the three of you. So yeah, as I said, I don't have a degree in AI or computer science or anything. Everything I've learned it through courses online, doing personal projects, attending talks. So go for it because it's really possible. And to add maybe a different thing, I would also say that something you really that really can help you is networking. So networking, I discovered the fields of AI I'm most interested in. I met my boss. I also discovered women in AI, and I've really met amazing people. Whom I've started, some really cool projects. So for example, I met the people from Hugging Face, and then this led me to starting this community of NLP in Spanish. So to be honest, everything that really matters right now in my professional life, let's say, is there thanks to networking. So really don't be afraid of reaching out to somebody. Always, of course, always write something like some text in the invitation on LinkedIn. That's very important. Also customized. But yeah, don't feel afraid of reaching out, because people actually is usually much nicer than we think. And I think you're going to be surprised on how many invitations are going to be accepted. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Thank you. Really great advices. And I hope they'll help the people in the audience as well as the ones viewing on YouTube. Yeah, in the interest of time, I think I will cut short on the last question. The question was on why we would like to have more women in AI and robotics. Like the last statement, I think I'll conclude it with one statement that, or rather, 2, 3 statements that it's all about experiences, and people with different experiences come with different perspectives. And I'm pretty sure men and women have different perspectives, and these perspectives are indeed very necessary to include diversity. And diversity is a necessity in any AI product, so to say. And I mean, if an AI product has to serve different kinds of people and different scenarios, we would like to be more and more inclusive. And that's why I think women in AI, women should be more in, or rather, we should close this gender gap in AI and robotics. And yeah, thank you. It was really a great pleasure listening to all your experiences and opinions, ladies. Now we shall open the floor for some questions from the audience. I think there are a lot of them. Hopefully we'll get to each one of them one by one. Let's see. I'll be reading out the questions. All right. So, yeah. All right. So this question is from Shaina Vipper. So the questioner asks, how does your everyday working day look like? So can one of you take it? I think it's for all the speakers, and maybe one of you can take it so that we could also proceed with the other questions. Maria, how would you describe your day at work?
So right now I'm working in home office, so not very social, let's say. So a day at work. Okay, so I'm a machine learning research engineer. So I do some research and also like a lot of programming, sometimes even deploying stuff, because I work at a startup and sometimes things needs to be done, and it doesn't matter if you don't know how to, you just have to figure it out. So I think that's something I really, really like from working at a startup. And I think every day looks very, very different. So mainly, programming, having meetings. It's just, I don't know, but I really, really like it. So
yeah, interesting. Yeah, the next question is from Sani Akhtar. Is reinforcement learning the method used to develop intelligent robots? I think the question can be best answered by Kashmira. What do you think?
So I would say that reinforcement learning is one of the methods, but not the only method. There are lots of imitation learning, unsupervised learning, supervised learning, but I think it is more application dependent of what kind of method you would use to make the robot intelligent.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I agree that it's one of those many methods, also learning from demonstration. Oh, thank you. So the next question is again to all the speakers. How did you acquire your knowledge in the field? What are you learning right now? Do you have any tips on where to get good information? I think this was already mostly answered. I can answer to this question that there are, of course, I can understand your problem, because there's a lot of information on the internet and it's almost always overwhelming. I would say keep up with those experts in the field of your interest, and follow them up on with their papers and the courses that they offer on any online platform. And also make sure you sign up to these newsletters such as The Batch and Deep Learning Weekly to stay updated, and always knowing what's going on in the field of your interest. Cool. And the next question is from Jens. What's your opinion on the plans of European Commission to regulate AI, including prohibitions of certain artificial intelligence practices, requirements, and obligations for operators of high-risk AI systems, as well as the approach to AI in surveillance. Driver or impediment for innovation? Does it play a role in your daily work? I think this was asked when Harshal and Laura were talking about their corporate space related experiences. Maybe you could elaborate more, either one of you, Harshal or Laura.
Okay, I can start this one.
Mhm.
AI and surveillance is basically what my startup revolves around. So yeah, I can take this one. I think this it just drives you to use AI consciously, and you just cannot. For example, surveillance. You're recording someone, right? But you have to make sure that their privacy is protected, so you have to think from every perspective. How are you storing their data? Are you deleting their data after some time? Because whenever you are doing surveillance and you're using AI in it, then you need to continuously store the data so that you can train your model. But if you're storing the data, how are you storing it? Are you removing their faces? Are you only storing that part of data which is actually useful for your model? So these kind of questions needs to be asked, and they should be asked. You cannot just rent a space and then just store everything. And while you're recording and looking at a person, there are various features that I think are here now that you can use. For example, you can use a sticky figure on it where you don't see the person moving but just a stick, the stick man that we used to draw when we all were kids. So you'll see a stick man moving instead of that person. There are a lot of tools that are transforming the surveillance footage into text. So instead of literally seeing the person, you will see that, okay, the person is now sitting on the sofa, the person is now walking, and the person is now hitting the pillow or something like that. So these things are also there, but again, these things also talk about privacy. So I think, yeah, all these things, they force you to use AI consciously and ethically, and I totally support it. And I think these should be there.
Thank
Laura,
you.
I'm sure
Laura,
you must have some thoughts.
yeah, do you also have what's your opinion on the plans of European Commission to regulate these AI
I
applications?
totally agree with Harshal. Like there should be like a commission or people that think about like what can AI do, and like also like the scenarios where AI could harm. And you probably all know deepfakes that are already in the internet. And so this is, yeah, a point where we just have to be conscious, as Harshal mentioned, and I cannot stress that enough, and really think about like what could happen to cover all those scenarios and be prepared if something in a bad way could happen.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think hope that answered the question. I think the next question is from Varnika Tyagi. How was the pandemic? How did the pandemic affect your work, daily routine, even the structure, content of your work? So, especially ladies, I can imagine, as in maybe not us, but there are a few ladies who have families and children. So, what was your personal experience? I think one of you can take. Maria already expressed some of her.
Okay, can I please take this one? I have
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
thing too.
Sure, sure.
So there's this one tip, and I cannot exaggerate enough. Whenever you're leaving your laptop to train your model, leave it according to your schedule. So schedule your nap times according to the training model. Schedule your dinner plans according to the training models. Schedule your cooking time according to the training models, because they'll take 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and yeah, you'll be better off if you do that. And I'm sure other guys also have some super fun things to say about it.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything to add to this? Yeah. And okay, so that's interesting.
Just one note. I think we are lucky in the sense that we can work remotely.
Yeah.
And so there are so many tools out there also that we can just use from home. So I think that's something that maybe is good. But on the other hand side, like, yes, I guess we're all missing our colleagues and being in the office and having the routine. And as Harshal said, yeah, you kind of like really focus on your work, maybe work even more than before. So yeah, this is like how it changed. But otherwise, I think, yeah, in the main content and content wise, it's the same.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a very important point, and also something that I also realized, that we are lucky enough to continue working from home, especially us as programmers. It's so comfortable, and equipment is all provided by our organizations, and I think we are very fortunate that way. Thank you. And let's jump into the next question. Well, it's from Tehetena. Do you have any recommendation on job opportunity on AI, like remote entry level jobs or project to practice my AI skills? Okay. Yeah, so I'm assuming it is about methods to find these jobs, or yeah, hopefully it's about how we can find these job opportunities, and yeah, what are the ways in which we can discover these opportunities? Do you have any recommendation?
Joining Women in AI and Robotics.
Indeed, yeah, and there are definitely more groups, I think, women in ML, and more, not just women, but in general, ML groups or AI related job opportunity groups, where you could always subscribe and get emails, as well as share your CV or information and your interests, and get somebody look into it and offer you an opportunity. Cool, thanks for asking that. And yeah, what were the names of the newsletters? Wasn't able to note down that quickly. Well, there are quite a lot. I think the ones that I follow are the batch from deeplearning.ai and Deep Learning Weekly. We keep getting recent updates. I think there are more. Do you girls have more newsletters to add to this list?
The Medium one is always good, and the entrepreneurship inc.com are always good. I refer them a lot.
Cool.
Oh, I would also suggest Signal, Alpha Signal. I really like that newsletter. It actually ranks, it uses AI, and it ranks the top 5 repos on GitHub that were like most, that had more traffic during the last week, then the top most popular or like discussed papers, tweets, 3 tweets and 3 news. So I really, really like that one. And yeah, just another one.
Yeah, that was more than what I mentioned earlier. That's nice. All right. So another question from Karina. Working in an AI startup or at a big player, which one would you choose and why? I think this is very person specific, personality specific. Who would like to go? Maybe one person from startup and another from working at a big player. Laura or Harshal?
Sure. Well, I'm working for a big company, but in consultancy you have like so many different projects, so many different customers. So it's every time it's a different situation and yeah, different needs to address. And I kind of like have to say we have the startup mentality. So it's almost like working for a startup. So I'm not sure. Like, I guess like when I compare my customers, I wouldn't so likely to work for a big player or a big corporation, because yeah, it's sometimes yeah, just yeah, following the day by day kind of routine also. And this is like something that you don't have in consultancy, also not in a startup, I guess, where you have like so many different situations and things to do, activities, and tasks to take care of, that it's like more diverse in your day-to-day business, I guess.
Thank you. Harshal?
Well, I have experience working with both in a startup and a big a player. So both ABN AMRO and Barclays are big banks, and they follow a lot of procedures. So the startup, the feeling is very raw. I mean, the meetings aren't scheduled; they just happen. The things aren't planned; they just happen to you. And someday you're working on something, and the other day it's all scrapped off. And that is the difference between the big player and the startup. So. I think at right now, the stage I'm in, I would really prefer a startup or a scale up to work with. But yes, I of course miss the sometimes the formal processes that we used to follow in the big corporate structures. For example, there is a team meeting. Okay, it's all set. It's 2 weeks planned, and now it is going to happen. But in startups, it's just okay. So it's today. Fine. Do you want to do it today? Okay, let's jump in, and it just happens. So these things are there, and it's fun. I think it's fun to work both at both places. But yeah, startups are more fun.
Cool. Thank you. It's very nice to know different perspectives. All right, so it's almost time, and it looks like we have come to the end of this session. Yeah, I thank you, Harshil, Kashmira, Laura, Maria, for your time, and also the audience for your great questions as well as your valuable time. And of course, Sheila and Christina for helping me with the organization of this event. I hope all of you find this session fruitful, and hope it has furthered your interest in this field. And I really hope that I see you guys soon again in the future events. Yeah, and also, of course, we encourage you to check us out on our website and spread this information, and also get in touch with us through this membership form if you're interested to be a part of this network. I think the links are all there in the chat box, and of course, feel free to reach out to us anytime, also on LinkedIn or Twitter. And yeah, thank you again, and hope to see you all soon.